and welcome back to the Literature Bug. Long time no see, like 2 weeks too long. I know, I'm sorry, I apologize, I feel like a butthole. I just have to tell you, we're back in action. My reasons for not filming the last 2 weeks are really lame. The time change has really screwed with the lighting and the time that I have after work to film, for one. The second is that last week we spent some time in Plymouth and near the Cape, so it was kind of a getaway weekend that we don't usually get. And I said to myself, this is important, enjoy the downtime. But I was brainstorming whilst I was there, which means that I've got tons of more content for y'all now that I'm back. Today, I actually want to do something that I was prompted to do after I post I can't say last week, but the last video that I posted. And I was prompted to do it for a few different reasons. One, this month is National Writing Month. It is now November. National Novel Writing Month. And there will be a video to follow about some things I want to talk to you guys about that. But whenever I get into writing like a novel or some fiction, it always prompts me and always pushes me to get back to my memoir stuff and my creative nonfiction projects, and really like wrap it up and finish it to the point that I'm happy with it. And last time I posted a video, I talked to you guys about a couple of books that I was picking through October that were sort of helping me pull some bits and pieces of advice and some ideas on how to get through the process of both types of writing projects. Today, I thought I would share with you what references and what books I use to really fuel the energy that I put into my memoir writing. A lot of these books are books that I was recommended to read and required to read in college when I was doing my BA, but there are also a lot of books that I picked up after I graduated because I wanted more. So, you want to make an appearance? Come on. Here he is, like I said, a little attention hog, huh, Bobby? Look, can you say hi to them? Can you say hi? You will probably just sit here the whole time on my lap. Yeah, I just thought that I'm going to be posting a video that will really cater to all of you fiction writers out there, and I wanted to share some of the things that helped me memoir wise. So we're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna show you guys a couple of books, give you a little blurb, a little, you know, about why I liked them and what you know, what I found useful about them, and then I would love to hear if any of you guys check them out afterwards. So the first book that I'm going to tell you guys about, it's more of an inspirational read for me rather than really picking it apart, and it's less fact-based and more oh, Odin. It's less fact-based and more about just like writers, and more specifically women who write, and that is Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. A woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write. I don't have either of those things yet. We're getting there. I've got a desk of my own. That counts for something, and it's much better than trying to share. I love my fiance dearly, but we can't share the same workspace. It don't work. And money. Getting there as well. You can only do what you can do. This is a book that I have read through only once before, but I love all of Virginia Woolf's other writing. Mrs. Dalloway, for one, To the Lighthouse, or The Lighthouse. Its name escapes me, and I just think that this is a really, look at the cover. It's very simple, but very attractive. So this is great if you need sort of inspiration, if you need a little bit of Virginia Woolf in your life, I suggest it. It's quick. It's 131 pages long. Not bad at all, and if you're into it, you'll breeze through it, just like I did. So that's number one, A Room of One's Own. The second book I'm going to show you, I feel like I have already mentioned once before. I don't remember why, but it is On Writing by Stephen King. Oh, it's because I was telling you how I've never read a Stephen King novel in my entire life. I still haven't. That didn't happen in October. I'm not bothered. It's okay, it'll happen. This is his memoir, and this is amazing. All about sort of his process, where he likes to write, when he wrote, you know, the time, sort of goes through what the publishing process was like for him. Oh, he's making me itch. advice that he would give young writers, writers who are just starting out, but also, yeah, this book gives me hope, you know, because authors like this didn't always, I'm pretty sure it's Stephen King who, like, he wrote Carrie and he chucked it in the garbage and his wife is like, what are you doing that for? So one of those things, the self-esteem thing and the confidence thing as far as being a writer, I feel like he touches on that a lot. And everyone needs to pick me up now and then. Everyone needs to hear that what you're doing and the efforts that you're putting in, if you are a writer, are worth it. And you just have to be patient sometimes, which I'm not good at doing, so whatever. Odin, I'm gonna have to ask you to get down, sir. All right, the next one is one that I talked to you guys about, which, like I said, prompted me to film this whole video for you guys, and that is Having the Last Say, Capturing Your Legacy in One Small Story. This is by Alan Gelb, and he's also, like I said, the best-selling author of Conquering the College Admissions Essay in 10 Steps. 10 Steps. This is excellent. This is also, I mean, I don't want to say it's more fact-based. Like I said, it's good. If you want to hear more about this one, a little bit more about this one, go to the last video. We don't have time for that. The next one is one that I adore. I will go back to 1,000,001 times. One, because it's super helpful, it's really inspiring, but also I always think it's hilarious, and that is The Art of Memoir by Mary Karr. I've mentioned before that I really enjoy Mary Karr's writing and her memoir work. This is an informative book. This is different than anything she's ever done. I think this was published in 2015. Yeah, 2015. So this one is more recent recollection of what Mary Karr sort of pulls from the writing process. It goes into detail about like the different books that she wrote, the difference between how she felt while she was writing them. I'll give you guys a little bit of like a briefing on the contents here. The truth contract twixt writer and reader, why not to write a memoir, plus a pop quiz to protect the bleeding and box out the rigid, a voice conjures the human who utters it, don't try this at home, a seductive and narcissistic count, sacred carnality, how to choose a detail, hucksters, the deluded, and big fat liars. So this goes into everything. It goes into what the form consists of, you know, embellishment, and it really touches, I think, a lot on ethical issues as well with the form. And I remember in my class when we read it, we really got into the nitty-gritty. We all wrote an ethics paper, and it was interesting. It was interesting to see different people's perspectives on, you know, I mean, there are some people out there that will write all of this memoir material, all this creative nonfiction material, and they'll never share it because they're afraid of what their family will think, or they don't want to offend anybody. There's the name change thing, there's embellishments, you know, what is an embellishment versus what is a lie. So Art of Memoir by Mary Karr, I definitely recommend it. It's hilarious. She has sort of like this, I think, a very one-of-a-kind tone when it comes to her writing, and I really love it. So there's that. So this next one is a book that I picked up well after I graduated, and I picked it up because I went into Barnes & Noble that day sort of looking for a little bit of, like I said, a pick-me-up. It had been a little bit since I had been in school. I hadn't finished my project, the writing project, and I hadn't sent it out for any publishing or anything like that, and I really wanted to get back into it. I feel like sometimes, and I know more than sometimes, like this is probably a very relatable thing with college students, especially liberal arts students, where at school you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not good at it, there's always a way to get there and improve and learn. And so school to me, and especially my college schooling, it really fueled me. Like, it fueled my desire to write. I was surrounded by people who love doing the same exact thing as I do, which you can't beat that feeling, really. And then you leave school and you're forced into the work situation. For me, it hasn't really played out how I figured it would, which is okay. It doesn't always happen like that, and I learned from a panel discussion yesterday, actually, that I need to, and we if you're out there and you relate to this, need to be patient with ourselves, because leaving school for the last, 20 years of your life and going into the workplace, especially trying to find work in the field that you really feel connected to, can be really difficult. So this trip to Barnes & Noble, I was like, you know what? I need to get back to it. I need to really pull out the writing, and I want to feel that confidence, and I want to feel that connection to it like I did, months before. And I found this book called The Magic of Memoir, Inspiration for the Writing Journey. It's edited by Linda Joy Myers, who's a PhD, and Brooke Warner. And yeah, it really is... it's inspirational. It's a bunch of different authors contributing to the substance that makes the book. What is it about memoir, writing naked, sort of like the vulnerability of the genre in general. My own story, The Shower and the Fish, from the Projects of Prosperity. This one I don't think I would say is a quick read. The print is pretty little. And there is a lot of things that people have to say in this, which I love. But I started reading this and just sort of like took off for like a good month and a half. Planned out a schedule for myself and really thought about why I was writing to begin with, and why the project, I felt so connected to the project and such an urge to share it, even though it's very personal and very, which most memoirs are, very personal. And like I said, when I write, especially for this project, I'm in a very vulnerable place because it touches on things like deaths in my family and the relationships I have with them, especially the females in my family. And so this, yeah, it got me going. And I have to thank the editors and all the authors for that. I think also that's why reading is my thing, because sometimes you just need to hear it from someone else. I'm all for, manifesting the good and being very confident in the steps that I'm taking to like do this writing, and I'm confident in why I do it. But sometimes, like I said, just need to hear it from someone else, and that's okay. Heard it from me, it's okay. Next one is one that I actually picked up years and years ago, I think at it was a yard sale. And that is Making a Literary Life, Advice for Writers and Other Dreamers by Carolyn C. It's interesting. I went through like different chapters of this off and on. Oh my god, this is so silly. I did get it at a yard sale because it has a note in it, and the note does not belong to me. It says, Dear Elizabeth, happy 23rd birthday. I want you to remember this one because I have a feeling that once you write your book, this birthday will become a memory of what it was like before you got rich. Rock on. Love, Dad. And this is from 2005. I love that. Go Dad. Total advocate for what his daughter wants to do. And 23. That's cool because I'm 24. I was just 23. So maybe this is the time. Maybe this is publication time. I'm feeling it now. But anyways, this is some different elements to this one. There's first of all, a very interesting introduction, but then it goes into it's divided into different parts. So there's part 1 before, part 2 the writing, and then part 3 during and after. So there's publication, there's writing process, there's editing, there's finding an agent, all that stuff. So this one's really neat. I definitely suggest this as well. Like I said, haven't been through the whole thing, but the bits and pieces that I did read were phenomenal. So the next 3 books that I have to show you are ones that I was also able to read and were recommended whilst I was in a creative nonfiction workshop course. The first one is Living Autobiographically, How We Create Identity in Narrative, and that is by Paul and John Aiken. I don't know. What's fun about these, and I suggest this to everyone, is hold on to your stuff. Don't be a pack rat. Like, if you're an English major and you've still got biology homework, ditch it, because it doesn't matter. I did that for so long. Here I am preaching, like, don't hold on to things. Like, I'm pretty sure I have a biology project that I was, like, super proud of that's still tucked under my bed. Anywho, fun about holding on to all the books that you read is that if you're like me, you annotate and you highlight and you underline, and you can go back and see sort of what thought occurred to you, or which thoughts of the authors stood out to you while you were reading. So let's see. So like this first chapter, or this first part, talking about ourselves, the rules of the game. So, Jolting Events, The Case Against Narrative Identity, Truth or Consequences on Oprah, which has a lot to do with the book A Million Little Pieces. If you've not read that and you don't know anything about that whole fiasco, Google it. Very intriguing. The Narrative Identity System, Narrative Rules, Identity Rules, and My Father's Brain. Let's see what I got. I underlined 5 kinds of selfhood involving physical, social, and mental context. The faceless statistics of the missing are given a face, a name, a story, we respond. I think, not only to the individualism that is so strong a feature in American culture, but also I would urge to an instinctive reflex to heal the rupture in these lives that we accept as somehow representative of our own. Riddle me that. In both writing and speaking, we can get into trouble for breaking the rules, which creative nonfiction does more than you would think. And if you're into that, I would really jump into like books like this about the form itself. Definitely suggest that. I think it's very easy to read, accessible. The writing's wonderful, you know. Okay, the next one here is called Memoir and Introduction, and this is by G. Thomas Cowser. I love that. Just the fingerprint. Because I think it is important while writing this type of work that everyone's experiences are different. How I perceived, say, my grandmother's funeral is very different than how my brother perceived it. Just like everyone's fingerprint is different, everyone's story is different, and everything, and our memories are different. No two memories are the same, even if, you know, they happened at the same time. My memory of walking through a blizzard with my brother is different than my brother's. Blah, 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 so on and so forth. So that's important, and that's why I like the cover a lot. But this is exactly what it says it is. It's an introduction to the form. There's what memoir is and what it is not. Memoir and genre, memoirs forms, memoirs ethics. Like I said, very interesting stuff. It'll make you think a lot. Memoirs, American roots, contemporary American memoir, and the work of memoir. So, more highlighted bits here. We've got, as we've seen, identity claims are at the core of memoir and autobiography. Memoir and autobiography don't just entail identity claims, they constitute and are coextensive with such claims. Greed is a strong motivator, but the sheer desire to be published seems to be a more primal urge. Your history is so remarkable that if you do not give it, somebody else will certainly give it, and perhaps so as nearly to do as much harm as your own management of the thing might do good. Getting all of one's life into writing is not only impossible, the attempt to do so may be self-defeating. Agreed. And that's another thing when playing around with sort of outlines and what you want to put into your writing. I think it's important to realize that you can't fit everything. We did an interesting sort of exercise once where we were told to write down every age up to where we're at, and in every age category write down all the memories that we believe that we can remember from that time period in our life, to see which ones stand out, and then pick one to write a memoir piece about. And to me it was amazing how some years of my life seemed like non-existent, like 7, 8, 9. I don't know why I don't remember much from that time, but say like year 10 or year 4 or like year 15, things really stand out. So though it is nearly impossible, the things that stand out are very important, and they're important to you for a reason, whether you like to believe it or not. And so yeah, recommend Cowser's book. And last but not least, folks, this book was sort of our holy Bible almost. We used it for a lot of different projects, a lot of different class discussions, a lot of essays, and it's one that I have gone back to since to sort of refresh my brain, and that is Reading Autobiography, A Guide for Interpreting Life Narratives. This is by Sidoni Smith and Julia Watson. It's the 2nd edition. It's pretty beat. I don't know if you guys can tell. No, you can't. All I can say is that I feel like to be a writer in the creative nonfiction field, you have to definitely delve into reading the genre as well, because you will get, not only do I think that you will feel like a sort of connectedness to these authors, and sort of form a bond with them without even having to know them, because they are putting all of their work down on paper in those parts of their life, but I also think that it opens your mind to all the different ways that it can be done. I think people think very tunnel vision when it comes to memoir, and it's I did this, I did this, and then I did this. But there's so many different ways you can play around with it. We did a lot of work with like different techniques in different form, and it was fun to see like immersion essays for one. I did a memoir project that included research, so it was fully based on like the state school that was around when I grew up, but that really sketched me out. And so I have a lot of memories connected with being around that place and being in the town I grew up in, but also I was really interested in why we were so sketched out by it, and so I was able to research what the state school is about and why it was closed and la la la. Another project I'd love to finish. Reading autobiography and reading creative nonfiction, though they're a little bit different, in some instances it's just really important. So this gives you so many tools, you guys. Again, I'll give you some of the contents because I can't cover the whole book in one sitting. Life narrative, definitions and distinctions, autobiographical subjects, autobiographical, that's a hard word to keep saying, autobiographical acts, life narrative in historical perspective, in the wake of the memoir boom, the visual, verbal, virtual context of life narrative, a history of autobiography criticism, theorizing autobiography, a history of autobiography criticism part 2, expanding autobiography studies, a toolkit, 24 strategies for reading life narratives, which was actually amazing. I remember my teacher constantly saying, she was like my favorite teacher, I love her so much, constantly saying like, if you're stuck, pull out your toolkit, go back to the toolkit, reread the toolkit. And so the part of the book where the toolkit's involved, I recommend highly because it is something that I've gone back to 1,000 times. So there's like audience and addressee, authority and authenticity, authorship and historical moment, the autobiographical I, that was also a big thing we talked about, body and embodiment, coherence and closure, collaborative autobiography, ethics, history of reading publics, experience, online lives, relationality, space and place. I used space and place so much in that course in my writing. It says, how do its coordinates position the narrator in social, geographic, and geopolitical locations? In ideological subject positions, what geographic spaces, for instance, urban, domestic, foreign, become legible in the narrative? Very interesting. Love this. And if you're serious about getting into a creative nonfiction project, I recommend that as well as a starting point, because they really break it down in a million different ways. So guys, that is all for this video. I gave you guys some of the tools, reading, like literature wise, that have really helped me out through the writing processes that I've gone through, and that are still helping me with new projects. Pile that I keep close at hand. I hope you guys enjoyed and will pick up some of these books yourselves if you're feeling a little bit stuck as far as a writing project. Yeah. I'm glad to be back. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to give this video a thumbs up, just so I can see if you liked it. Also, if you would like to see new bookish content every single week, or almost every single week, and hopefully multiple times within the week once I get some more equipment, then subscribe to this channel because I would love to hang out with you. I would love to talk literature. I would love to talk writing. But for now, I will leave you and I hope you have a great day.